So I was talking about government's initiative in introducing skill-based courses in industrial training institutes of across country, as well as the state where I belong, Rajasthan. And there they were asked to, the government was asked to take proactive steps to encourage students to take admission into these skill-based courses, so that they do get better job opportunities and their future becomes focused. Now, coming to English, with my experience as a trainer with the corporate, where I was training students to be recruited in multinational companies, as well as my other training sessions across Rajasthan, where I was sharing my experiences with the professors and other teachers, school teachers. And with the level of the students and the problems that they face, my opinion was same as that of the higher education minister. And let me quote that for you. Most of the students are from villages. Despite having talent, they are unable to present themselves well. We are making them well versed in English so that they do not lag behind in jobs. So that is the opinion of higher education minister. And for that, in our college also, two apps were introduced for the students. One was Hello app, which was downloaded by students in their Androids, and students were practicing these English language skills through that. And the second app was Busu app, which was from McGraw-Hill, and students were given 3 months free subscription so that they are able to learn any foreign language. And
sorry to interrupt.
To make them multilingual.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Can you give permission to few more people who want to enter the conference?
Okay, sure.
Since you're the host, sorry to interrupt. You could continue after this.
It's okay.
This is what happened.
Is it okay? Well, so I was saying that these two apps students were using in college. About the monitoring, I'm going to talk about that later, that how far it was monitored by the government. But yeah, there were some initiatives, and they were trying, there was efforts from government side that students, they become multilingual, or they choose some other foreign language, where students did show the interest towards Mandarin, but because it's a very complex language, so they were choosing Spanish and French for that. And that was all because that was these are the languages which are spoken by more people across the globe. So that was this. Why is it not? I'm not able to skip slide. Mihir, I'm not able to skip slide.
F5, just F5, and just press the cursor down. Just press the arrow down. Probably move, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When we say think globally, act locally, so all these effort of government was to enable or make these local level, at the local level, students well versed in some skills so that they are fit for global needs. And talking about the irreversible global and virtual globalization, we know that globalization has happened and it cannot be reversed because a lot of trade sharing is there across borders. And some of the countries think that perhaps being self-dependent and self-sufficient is the key to it. And sorry, there are a lot of other things cropping up. To be a host is difficult. So there are some countries who resist globalization, but this economic globalization has happened and it cannot be reversed. And same is with virtual globalization, because there's so much of data sharing and so much of information which is carried across borders. So this has happened. And in all this process, we find that English has emerged as a very important language, because it's a language of commerce, computers, technology, media, entertainment, tourism, diplomacy, international music, language, and so on and so forth. And there are about 1.2 billion speakers of this language. And the Mandarin, it is same, but this is the language which is an official language of many countries. So there's an importance for this language. And so the efforts become very important, that the students get well versed in the skills which is of this language, and they can go for a job across borders. And for this, there are many platforms like TOEFL, IELTS, Cambridge, and Relo. They aim at increasing English influence and revenue. A lot of revenue is generated, because this is also the language of immigration. And if you want to take admission into any of those foreign universities or work outside, you need to clear a particular benchmark of proficiency in English. So this also makes it quite influential, and it generates revenue. Okay. Potential of English in economic development. When we connect these two things, English and economic development, this is quite clear that language people speak or do not speak, it determines their access to resources and capability development. We see that the language which people speak less, you get very less resources from that. And English, you can say the higher education, books, or other things, and even as a link language to other countries, English naturally opens access to a lot of resources, and which the knowing of this language naturally increases the capability. So that's why it has that potential. And this can be a dream. The 3 points that I've written down over here, this is a dream or a belief of people around here in our country or in our state, that English is very important, as it triggers out poverty, and it is a language which gives you greater privileges and social opportunities, and it's the root of achieving status in life. So knowing English, people think that it is going to open up routes for jobs, and obviously that's going to give them a route to achieving some sort of a status. And when I say status here, I mean financial status in life, or towards which people are attracted to. And this has led to opening of a lot of English medium schools throughout country and in our state also. So we'll be also talking about those schools, what is happening in those schools. Okay. Negotiating English language barriers in India. Now, with this, a lot of efforts are being done to somehow master the skills in this language, and people are taking all sorts of steps to inculcate these skills in their children. The first thing is parental support for teaching of English. A lot of parents want that their children should start speaking English right from the time when they start speaking any language. And the parents who are able to speak English, they start speaking to their children in this language right from the time when they are a kid, because they think that that's going to help them learn this language naturally. And the parents who are not able to speak in English, they send their children to private tuitions, coachings, and they provide them with additional books. Even they want their children to socialize in English. What we have seen is that they want their children to make friends with those people who are, with those kids who are able to speak in English. And they want that they should get their child admitted to those schools which are so-called English medium schools. And even in schools and colleges, there are separate programs in English, where you have English debate competition, English speeches and extemporaries and essay writings. So all these things are done to promote this language among students. And here there is something very interesting. There are high cost and low cost English medium schools in our country. I can say, I'm talking about from the state of Rajasthan, that people who are able to afford more, who are able to pay high fees, they are able to get their students admitted into high-cost English medium schools, and that means that these schools are going to give students more opportunity, are going to make them more fluent in English, and the whole idea, the whole concentration or the whole focus of parents is to make their children fluent in this language. And then there are low-cost English medium schools. There are people who are not able to afford things in their daily lives, but still they try to get their children admitted into some English medium school if it's a low-cost one. And low-cost English medium school means that there are less trained teachers. They are not going to expose a child to English to that extent, and then there is a lot of disparity that if a child says that he's from English medium school, then it's like asked that which brand or which school does he come from. So there is a disparity over here because you see that in high-cost schools, they don't allow mother tongue in classroom interactions. That is what is happening. Even in the parent-teacher meeting, when the parents come, the first thing that they ask the teacher or they complain to the teacher is that despite of paying so much of fee to the school, their child is not conversing in English. So that's the first demand that parents have. And there are textbooks in English. So schools, whichever subject the child might be reading, these schools, they introduce textbooks which are in English so that there is an exposure to this language. In all this thing, whose development is promoted? Who is benefited by it and how? Sorry, I just got it scrolled. Yeah. So what exactly is happening? Who is getting the benefit out of it, and who is being taught and who is being cheated in all this? Here are some points which I have tried to put down. There's a disappointment in society for the way English is taught in government schools. Government schools are losing their reputation. I don't know why. There are more skilled teachers and all, but somewhere people think that if they admit their child into a private school, that their child is going to learn English more, and the English is not taught in a correct manner, in the right manner in government schools. So there is a disillusionment towards government schools. And there's a clear divide between students from upper economic urban class and students with low competence from rural areas. This we face in our colleges also, the multi-level classrooms where you have children who have taken education from better schools, and there are students coming from the rural background, and the teacher, the whole year, she keeps on balancing between the content and the way of instruction between the students who are from a better competence and the lower competence students. And I've specially added the word economic over here because somewhere the paying capacity, the fee capacity is also determining the level of this language to which the child will be exposed to. Then you see that teachers in the classrooms, they translate word by word in empty of students. Teachers use a lot of mother tongue in classrooms. I'm not saying that mother tongue should not be used in the classrooms, but mother tongue is just a sort of scaffolding for students. It should be progressively removed. But what we find is that over the years, even if the students are well versed into this, teachers keep on using mother tongue in the class, which somewhere does hamper their English language learning competency. Then parents make great sacrifices to send their children to private schools. I've already talked about that parents with not of that much of paying capacity, who are somehow making their living, they feel proud as well as they are ready to make any sort of sacrifices. We also have films on that, Hindi medium, English medium in Bollywood, that parents are making great sacrifices to send their children to private schools because they think that private schools are going to focus more on this language. And then there is one more drawback, that higher education textbooks are available only in English. Even if some student who is not confident enough in this language, but intelligent enough, but here we find that if the education books are only in English, somewhere the competency is not meeting the grounds, because we find that the higher education textbooks are available only in English. Challenges. For us as teachers in the classrooms, there are a lot of challenges in teaching and learning of English, because English is neither a mother tongue nor a language of communication in larger communities. So there are a few more drawbacks which we as teachers, we face in classrooms, that it is not the mother tongue of students, as well as it is not spoken generally in the larger community. So student is exposed to this language only in the classroom situation. And there are untrained teachers and L2 students. The teachers are not trained despite of a lot of trainings given by government at various levels, but that is not monitored whether they are using that training in their classrooms or not. So there is hardly any difference between a trained teacher and an untrained teacher. There are a lot of untrained teachers, and the language, English language, is a second language or a foreign language for Indian students. Then there are students from a variety of linguistic and economic background, where you just cannot follow any one pattern of language for a translation method, because there are students from a variety of linguistic backgrounds and economic backgrounds too, because this economic background leads to that background of knowledge or of exposure of a language from which they are coming. Then one more thing is that in multilingual societies, there is a battle of hegemony and discrimination. Language is not seen as capability. Language in society is seen as a power, as a supremacy over other languages. So the with English and Hindi and the other indigenous languages, there is a double divide. The person who knows English is superior most, then the person who knows Hindi, and then comes the person who knows any indigenous language or tribal language or minoritized language. So there's a double divide in multilingual societies, which should not happen. And that is always a battle of supremacy. There are people who are against teaching English because they think that it is somewhere their local language is being hampered. And there are people who are promoting this language because it's a need of the day. It's global now. Questions for skill development, classroom practices. These are very important questions. When we talk about literacy and we say that a person who is able to write his name, can you call that person literate in complete sense? In the same manner, a person or a student who is able to just comprehend English or just able to give few simple answers in English, can you say that that person is now skilled enough for the future? So there are some very important questions. These are some very important questions that we need to address in our own minds, that what should be done exactly. Is it sufficient to ask students simple language comprehension questions without tapping their analytical and synthesis skills? Because students in future need to address a lot of discourses. They need to go for their business or their professional purposes. So I think that somewhere simple language and comprehension questions don't suffice. Then the composition, it should not be like only a word on a paper or some simple topics. There is a need to introduce some multicultural life topics and business communication, verbal expressions, non-verbal expressions, writing of the emails, and a lot of other skills related to business communication should be given to the students. Then there is an important question: is it useful to teach standard grammar where they need to collaborate, communicate across national boundaries, facing plethora of many Englishes? So here, there's a question, because the English is not just located only to the English that is spoken in Britain. There's American English, Australian English, Caribbean English, and this English that is spoken in South Asia and all. So when a child in future needs to communicate across borders, so is it fine just to teach him standard grammar when he needs to face plethora of many Englishes around? And then how can we develop in them critical thinking and communication skills to help them make thoughtful decisions and solve global problems? This is a very important aspect, to develop critical thinking in students, because they need to solve many problems in their business or in their jobs, and then they need to take very thoughtful decisions. So here it's very important to develop those cognitive and metacognitive skills in students, where they are able to analyze, where they're able to synthesize, where they are able to put their whole knowledge together, and then they are able to make some thoughtful decisions. So just teaching them basic grammar, because whenever it happens that anyone wants to improve English, what parents do is that they send their kids to a grammar school, and they think that one day when they're going to be well versed with the grammatical structures, maybe that day they'll be able to speak English or they'll be fluent in this language. So here, to develop critical thinking is very important, and teachers need to be very innovative. They need to be quite new in their approaches so that they are able to deal with all these things, and this will be a real learning of this language, or real practicing this or mastering this language. Directions. I think I've taken a lot of time. I won't take much. So there is expectation of, and then there is the level of children's proficiency. Here I've tried to bring in very tidbit forms some things that can be done so that this gap of parents' expectations and child proficiency is done. I'll just read them out. Empathetic teachers for slow learners. We have all sorts of learners in the class. We should not focus just on hand raising and becoming satisfied that all my students have learned. Rather, teachers should be empathetic and should focus on every student, because it's something which is not one size fits all. It's tailor-made, absolutely. So use of MT for gradual transition into English language learning environment. I've already talked about it. Sufficient reading material. Then the students' perspective, how they learn a language. Not all students learn alike, so teacher must know that how they learn a language, kinesthetically, or some are good listeners and some are good readers. So English language classroom should be used for focused skill development. This should happen as a necessary, that it should be a place where the focus should not be just on grammar, it should be on all the skill developments, including soft skills. Then body language needs to be taught and mastered. It's not just verbal things, but also non-verbal things that need to be practiced. And language proficiency must be valued as a capability, whether it's L1 or L2, instead of any superiority of a language. It should be taken as a capability. Training and then its application in classroom should be monitored. As I told, that there are a lot of things are introduced by government, but they are not monitored till the end. So it's just executing something and not monitoring it till the end. It should be prevented. Rather, it should be monitored till the end. Then gather critical insights for teachers from all over the country. Teachers should, voices should be heard. And there should be a sort of gathering of insights from all over the country, what exactly is needed in their classrooms, and then the decisions or policies should be made. Time of inclusive globalization with regard to local languages. All the languages should be given importance. And then colonial to familiar texts. Just the text that students are following, that should have that local element, that should have that familiar or native element included in that. And English is not a fashion, but a factual necessity. Instead of just taking it something which is superior or something which is very fashionable, I think that it is a factual necessity of time. And summing up to its importance, I would say that students need to be trained into the flexible use of vast list of discourses than simply drill-oriented grammar lessons. Students need to be practiced into, like, because in their conversations, they sometimes describe, they narrate, they argue, and they switch over from one discourse to another very quickly. So this needs to be practiced instead of just giving them grammar lessons. And it must, multilingualism is something which should grow. And if it does not happen, half of the other language of the world will be extinct. And then we should not consider English as something which is coming from the imperialists, or it is imposed upon us. There is a progressive internalization and significance of this language. Therefore, this English needs uncritical acceptance in society. Instead of criticizing it, let's look at its importance and its value and work accordingly. So that was my presentation. I tried to make it as fast as possible. And this is fun. And this is not an advertisement, but it is the necessity of the day. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. In fact, I second exactly what you just put across. Wherein language is something that is really very important. You know, unfortunately, I'm not going to say English is very important, but it's a global language. And I think this is one language that is going to make us go places. at least basics of communication, basics of soft skills, basics of how do we really introduce ourselves, put our matter across. I think if we are really able to develop our skill sets in this matter and in this manner, I think it will be better for us to probably present ourselves. Well, yes, I totally agree, and I would like to probably, give you a thumbs up for this, Dr. Sonu, because I also am a great advocate as far as English is concerned, because I am a soft skill trainer, I deal with business communication, and I know how important this language ultimately is globally. So thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. And I'm sure the ones who have attended, young researchers, young scholars, this is a very important skill set that you require to develop. And I'm sure ma'am has covered it up. Read papers, read articles, see a lot of YouTube videos. Technology is with you. It fails you sometimes, but that's okay. That's man-made. Even coronavirus is man-made. If we can come over that, even something like this is, we can sail through. So, well, yes, thank you so much, ma'am. And I would request you to please give the hosting pass to Dr. Sharma. And next in line for the presentation, I invite Dr. Gary Blair, who is our
principal lecturer. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
yeah,
ma'am.
That was great.
I welcome Dr. Blair, Principal Lecturer, Operations Technology, Events and Hospitality Management Business School, All Saints Campus, Manchester Metropolitan University. He has been associated with us for a couple of years and he's been delivering excellent keynote addresses in events such as London. And just last week or 15 days before, I think we met virtually, we had a conference in Philippines, and there was a lot to take back from Dr. Blair. So I hand over the permission and the presentation rights to Dr. Blair, and you could probably take it ahead. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, can you please make it? Did you make it?
Yeah, I made you the host, Hardev.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could just allow everyone else also to attend, the ones who are in waiting list.
No, still it is not. Just a moment. Okay. Yeah. Ma'am, can you please make it to IWR SAR?
Yes,
the host.
She has made it to you. I can see it. It's the host. You have been given the host pass.
Okay, just a moment. Yes, it's over to you, Dr. Gary. I'll take just quick minute. First of all, really, it was very, a technical glitch we had experienced, but I appreciate all of your patience, and thankfully, once again, we are connected. Thank you so much. Dr. Gary, over to you, please.
Whoa. Come on. There we go. You see my screen now? Everybody okay? Hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the invite. Thank you, guys. Very good. Another invitation to come and speak at your fantastic conferences. I think you do a great job. And I was slightly worried with this topic that I might actually do something the same as everybody else, but I can see from the last presentation, I'm taking a completely different view. So that's really good. That's quite strong from an academic point of view. So I'll just introduce myself and then we'll take it from there. I was a systems manager, an IT manager for a large pension fund. I did my PhD in implementing IT and information systems projects. And I then moved to Manchester Metropolitan University Business School. I teach systems and project management. So a lot of this is based on my practice of teaching systems and project management and business at the business school. Okay, so what I've done is kind of take an academic view, because obviously we're an academic society, of this. So I'm going to present a number of things here. My paper covers it in more detail. I've given a paper over to Dr. Hardev, and that has the main sources are the Harvard Business Review and the International Journal of Project Management, plus some of my own ideas. So we'll take it from there. So the paper, Addressing Skills Acquisition and Development in a Volatile Environment, I took it quite generally and based it on my practice. So how do we develop skills in a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous environment? Well, what we have to do is locate ourselves in a place where there is stability. So we have to look at areas where either we can establish a contingency, a backup plan, or we can establish particular areas where they are still strong no matter how volatile the environment is. The solution to complexity is to try and make it simple, so we have to have a mechanism for understanding it, which is what I'm trying to get across today. And for something to be ambiguous means really it's another way of not understanding it, so we need to make it clear. So I've tried to give it some clarity and put it all together in a model at the end of this. So what kind of skills are needed? These are the big questions. How do we teach future workers the new skills? The potential is there to go and grab a big market, internal market and external market. The global market size of outsourced services was 92.5 billion American dollars last year. Obviously that's going to shrink this year, but some of these are quite strong sectors. IT sector, the cloud, they have retained value. They haven't shrunk as much as everything else in Corona land with the virus. So obviously this is a big slice of a big pie if you can get any of it. So that's an objective. No, don't just regenerate the internal market, but try and grab a slice of this very big lucrative external market. What kind of sectors have continued to thrive despite the new conditions given by the pandemic? Well, IT have, because we right now we're having an online conference because that's the only way we can do it. We can't kind of travel as much. We've got more restrictions, quarantines, and so on. Healthcare obviously as provision has boomed. Logistics, food probably I'd add to that. Any food provision, engineering and construction. They are big indicators of value for an economy. They're usually the first items to restart in any economy, certainly were in the UK. So there are areas of stability even in a complex and volatile landscape. Okay, so far? Can you hear me? I'm not talking to myself. Yeah, okay, I'll carry on. So what I've looked at is some of the literature which brings together research on this. So what kind of key skills and behaviors do we need? What is the leading stuff on this that will try and help us? So as far as project and business leadership is concerned, you've got complex projects now, more complex in a complex environment. So what you have to do is try to manage resources to deliver it. So you're encouraging a dialogue between the right people. You have to get that dialogue, often an online one, to get people to make key decisions. You've also got to communicate with stakeholders, so you're collaborating there, and you've got to use your practice judgment. So this is again a learned skill to make progress with complex issues. You may not know what you're facing, but if you've got experience and you've got understanding and you're trained, you can actually make good business decisions. So all of these are soft skills, although there is a kind of hard component in that you have to understand the technology of whatever you are making those decisions in. You've got to manage resistance as well, so you develop power support sources and alliance to resolve issues. That is the norm for any project manager. You've got to have some kind of source of power, whether it's position or personal power, or you have access to key resources. You've got some source of power that can resolve things. So you've got the traditional measures as well. You need to deliver things on time, within budget, to the specification, to the required level of quality. But again, that definition of success needs to be negotiated with stakeholders. So again, soft skills, trying to construct that concept of what is valuable in business and in kind of projects. Okay, that was a piece of Australian research, more details in my paper. And there is a kind of whole new project management movement, hopefully you're guessing some of this, that took an international view, looked at academic articles, and what it looked at are the challenges of kind of operating in a complex environment with very diverse stakeholders. So right now, we've got diverse stakeholders on this call, on this conference. So we're trying to reconcile or gain a point of view that moves us forward. So what it took was a non-traditional view. It said that if you look at projects, you don't necessarily take a prescribed view, you can experiment. There needs to be some license. So some of the traditional ways of doing things can be removed. It came up with a set of lessons as well. So you don't look necessarily at the kind of hard and fast outputs that you used to, but look at the wider impact on society as well. Look at the environment, the business environment, and so on. How do we affect what's going on? So you've got your traditional values as well. You're going to try and achieve the objectives of the objectives that were set out for the project, all the kind of traditional project management. But the idea is now we look wider at the kind of people and planet aspects. We look at the environment. And also the long-term effects on our business. I mean, we've got to consider now, how do we move forward with the threat of a virus and the threat of being shut down or locked down? You've also got to bring in partners as well. Most businesses cannot exist on their own, so they need partners. They need some kind of outsourcing or collaboration. And how do you work out what they do? So that you've got to be able to bring in some independent valuation as well and evaluate yourself as to how well something is doing. Multidisciplinary is strong. I mean, when I used to deal with IT projects, I deal with the accountants, the lawyers, the IT people, the administrators, HR people, pensions, and so on. There'd be a whole range of people. So what I found was if I could deal with good people and get a good team together, that would work. Again, these are soft skills. These are things you can't necessarily learn in a classroom, but you can maybe learn to understand them and appreciate them in a classroom or virtual classroom. Okay, and innovative projects in business, the way to move forward is to innovate. If you can innovate enough, you can produce a disruptive change to the market or the technology and actually take over the business. You can think of some examples, I've given some before, where an innovation has removed everything else because people have signed up to it. I mean, travel agents, for example, have found the internet has removed some of their bricks and mortar business. Online shopping has taken away some of the traditional going to stores. In fact, the coronavirus has emphasized that a lot of traditional shops have not opened because they just couldn't keep going. But the online stores, the online delivery, they have kept going. The Amazons of this world, they have gone from strength to strength because they don't rely on traditional technologies and traditional ways of doing things. So you're using information to confirm existing beliefs. That's the old way of doing it. What you need is to be disruptive in the way you access information. So you access information to remove yourself from an ambiguous environment, which is what we're doing now, and you try and use that information to be original, to be creative as well. And some of the tactics from this this example, Harvard Business Review, was use an bolt of lightning there just to kind of wake everybody up and say, you should think in a kind of innovative way, that you'd use some kind of mental time travel, if you like. You try and imagine what the future would be. You try and envisage something that isn't there to achieve it. And using examples from other areas of business is good. And the other is stripping back and going back to first principles in terms of what you deliver, and look at different uses from other areas. So what you're trying to avoid is a bias towards current thinking and knowledge. Give you an example of this. Elon Musk, when he was trying to set up SpaceX, commercial rocket company, what he tried to do was go to the Russians and actually buy some rockets off them. In the end, they said no. So then he was kind of faced with, well, perhaps the idea's no good. So hang on. So he said, hang on, how do we build a rocket? So he kind of went from let's buy something that's always been state sponsored because it's so expensive to let's go back and see if I can make the parts and make a rocket. And that's what they did. They went back to first principles, worked out how they could get stuff, and built rockets, which they now, you know, can now do their own kind of commercial launches and rent to NASA and so on. So you've from a kind of no one's ever done it before to an idea, that leap was taken. Okay. Ooh, stop moving. Let's go. Oh, so what you've got a contrast between skills. Hard skills are technical skills. You can go in a classroom, you can learn these very definitely. You can learn how to plan, you can learn how to be an accountant, you can learn business, get a degree and so on. The soft skills, so that's very defined. You know, you're getting a certificate, you're getting a level of attainment, you can create some artifact like a plan, like a piece of technology, like a chemistry lesson or whatever. You can create something that is very defined. Soft skills are more people-centered, so they are more contextual. What they are how do you negotiate maybe? How do you manage a project? How do you negotiate a contract? You might know how to do the legal side, but to get a contract in force, you've got to go to different stakeholders and reconcile their needs and get them to sign up. So that is very much a soft skill, and that is adaptive or experiential. It can be taught in the sense of you can simulate it. I try and do that with some of my classes because I get teams to work together to achieve objectives. But what you can't replicate is that context in business, because what you're developing is a very contextual skill. So you go into a business, you go into a firm, and you get to know how it works. Then you can understand it better. Who are the key players? How do I deal with them? What are the kind of key technologies and systems here? So you need to apply that. So soft skills are often contextual, often need to be learned. So the kind of apprentice model or internship model is a good one there, where you're learning the environment. Okay. This is on competencies. This is International Journal of Project Management. It's kind of splitting down areas of competence, which is very useful, not just for project managers, but for business as well. You got the intellectual side, where you need some kind of critical analysis and judgment. This is the IQ side. You know, you need intelligence in that particular area. A manager will need vision and imagination and a strategic perspective as well. Emotional intelligence is you've got empathy with people. You can understand them, you can motivate them, you understand who they are. And from a team player point of view, it's you can fit in to the team. A very big, one of the biggest criteria of selection. When I used to recruit to my teams, what I looked at was, had they got the aptitude and the basic qualifications, but then number one, how can they fit into my team? That was bigger than anything else. Somebody can have great qualifications. You don't think you can sit opposite them and work with them, then don't recruit them. So being able to be a team player and fit into a team is a really big thing. And having that emotional intelligence does that as well. As a manager, you need that. You need to understand your people. Why are these people behaving in such a way? How can I get the best out of them? How can I treat them in a good way? And competencies of management side as well. How do you manage resources? How do you plan? How do you engage? How do you delegate and empower people? What is the appropriate strategy there? I'll talk about that in a minute. How do you develop and achieve the objectives? Develop people and achieve what is to be achieved. Okay, quite an old theory here. This is a book, Hersey and Blanchard, shows you've got different approaches to being a leader. And again, you can learn this, you can learn the approaches, but you have to apply it in context. So you can start out with very directive, where you tell people what to do, you give them, you micromanage them, you give them a task, you monitor it. Then you go to coaching, you step back a bit, let them do it, but you're very involved with them. You're trying to get them to do, like a football coach, get them to play well. Supporting is you step back a bit more, you give them resources, but they're still coming to you for resources and help. And delegate is where you completely empower them. You give them, you go away, there's the budget, go and sort it out, work out what needs to be done and get it done. You take responsibility off yourself and to your employee. You delegate completely. So those approaches, you might use different ones. As a manager, you wouldn't necessarily stick to one. If something is going wrong, you may move to a more directive approach. If something is going well, you may step back and delegate it more. Okay, different types of leadership as well. Another article that cites you can have different, Harvard Business Review, you get different types, and it categorized into different types. I'm using these articles as examples of the kind of thing we can learn from the academic perspective. So you've got entrepreneurs. These are people who are prepared to come up with their own ideas and back them. They can be within a firm, outside a firm, they can start up and so on. So you're training entrepreneurs is a good thing for an economy, because we've got more and more people who work for themselves now, such is the nature of contracts. Long-term employment is not necessarily guaranteed. You get a job, you're there for life, you retire. That model has kind of been blown out by society. So you've got all kinds of characteristics here. You've got to be self-confident, willing to act on your own initiative. You've got to be strategic. You have a plan, you have ideas, and you've got to attract others in terms of certainly attention and backing to get the job done, and customers for whatever you're producing. Enabling leaders, they are very much the coaches. They coach, direct, they develop networks of people, and so on. Architects are people who take the strategic view. They look at the big changes. They are the Richard Bransons. They are the Elon Musks. They are the guys who look at the landscape. Richard Branson gets out of bed and thinks, what can I do? I can create holidays in space. Galactic, we can do this. No one else has done that. That's a great idea. So they are prepared to change the landscape. They are prepared to change what goes on, and do it in lots of ways. And you can have leaders who are combinations of those, or use different sets of those skills or different types at different times. Let's go. Oh, there we go. So one example, we're talking about the team side was team roles. There's lots of stuff like this. Meredith Belbin probably did the definitive work where you can kind of self-categorize into what kind of person you are and how you fit into a team. But I picked a really recent one. It was a business consultants, Deloitte, who put this together, and they called it business chemistry. And they said there are 4 main team roles. They did over 1,000 studies. This was really thorough. And they said, here's categories that you can fall into, maybe 1 or 2 of them. You know, basically you are one of these categories, although you may exhibit tendencies from the other. You've got pioneers who like taking risks and new ideas. These are the trailblazers, the entrepreneurs. They like the big picture. They see the big picture. They're the strategic guys. Guardians, they like stability and order. They want to learn from the past. They're very grounded. They want progress, but steady progress. They pull you back from the big ideas, if you like, and say, well, how are we going to do it? Drivers like challenges, getting results. So you give them a target and set them going, and they see things in black and white, right or wrong. You know, what they're looking to do is zap the obstacles out the way and move on. You've got integrators. These are the team players. They bring everybody together. They stop the drivers, guardians, and pioneers banging heads together. They get them together. They organize the team. They like consensus and agreement. And a good team will work with all of those qualities. They will need all of those qualities to get the job done and work best with them. Okay, trying to access all of them. Oh, off we go. Come on. So team will underperform if it cannot reconcile these different types. And so you need to make sure you bring the types together. Make sure if people's voices are not being heard, if the guys who are, you know, maybe integrators are not being heard because they're the quiet ones, make sure they are not excluded. Try and bring them into the team, get their voice heard. So the mix of, certainly I've always found this to be true, and I always try and encourage teamwork and group work in my courses. I think that's a valuable skill, learning how to work with a team, learning how to be productive, doing assignments, doing formative assignments or summative assignments where you're marked. That is important because you are learning how to work with other people, and that is a business skill. That is a valuable skill for business. Okay, future trends. Well, the idea now is that we don't just learn something at school, I'm an accountant, qualify, go on, get out there, get my degree, become a doctor. That's it. I've done my learning. I can go out and practice. Well, that's changed now. More and more people are changing careers, and it's okay getting an accounting qualification, but how do you deal with people and actually become an accountant in a big firm? How do you deal with the clients and so on? So you've got skills to learn, and more people will have to continue to learn. Right now, we're learning how do we deliver more of our classes online. We've bought Microsoft Teams. It's been adapted for use, and we are, you know, learning on kind of online skills, if you like. So there's a whole new set of skills coming to the business school, and some of us, I've done quite a bit of it, but some of us haven't, and you've got to, you know, kind of get into that, because that is a new form now. We can't just deliver face to face and get people in a class because of social distancing and isolation and all the other things that have happened. So you've got the idea of personal learning cloud. So you have kind of a lot of virtual resources. You've got YouTube, lynda.com, and so on. All of our resources are available to our students virtually as well. And it's personalized as well. You can tailor it for your own individual use. So you can bring up your own portfolio of skills. And increasingly with the cloud, you can bring that together. You can socialize as well. You can have some authenticated. So you've got links to all the qualifications and bodies you've got. And for example, Society for Academic Research, their work is publicly available. It's authenticated. It's there. You can access it. I've written a number of pieces for you. If anyone wants it, they can access through my links straight to your website, and there it is. It's authentic that I've worked for you, and the kind of the statements are there, the papers are there. So you've got that level of kind of different level of thinking, that you can have online learning, you can have it as a portfolio, you can have it as a kind of authenticated way of actually accessing this validation of what you've done. Okay, so what about levels of progression? Now, I think this is really interesting, because again, I teach this stuff to the masters students. My teaching, by the way, spans foundation year, where they come in and try and are doing a kind of access year to get onto the degree, right up to master's level. I'm on a PhD supervisory team, and I teach the apprentices as well, who come in on day release. So I teach a range, and it's good to kind of understand that from when from that teaching point of view, is what works at different levels and what is kind of common. And one of the things which is interesting is to see how people decide what levels they are. Novice, for example, again, this is a piece of work from International Journal of Project Management. They use rule-based solutions. They need a set of rules to do anything. They need to understand the system, to understand how to work. They have to have a set of rules. Advanced beginner use trial and error. I know what works, I know what doesn't work, and I keep making mistakes and learning from that. Competent person can prioritize procedures, so they know how to make decisions and what order they should be made. They've got a kind of mental list or physical list of what kind of instructions they need to go through to actually make something work. Proficient, understand the context. They can reflect on working it. They're more experienced. They understand the business they work in. They can reflect and analyze the situation, come up with a good solution. An expert, they understand it so well that it's almost intuitive. They go straight from here's the problem to the solution without even touching the floor. Their experience is such that they know the solution without even reflecting on it, because they've worked at it so long. They understand. Now, the interesting thing is that depending on what you are doing, you might be at any of those stages. So somebody who's an expert in one area might be a novice in another, and that's the beauty of understanding a portfolio of skills. You might have to go back to being a novice, but go back to learning in other areas. As long as you understand what areas you're an expert in and what areas you are less an expert in, I think that is important, and you can evidence it as well. So that's quite a useful model. So finally, so what I did was try to put together a model of what we're doing here, the skills development process. And this is my kind of taking the literature, taking what I do, taking practice and putting it into a model. You've got learning resources, including funding. A person accesses those. They've got IQ, they've got intelligence, they've got emotional intelligence, soft skills. They can organize and lead. They've got teaching and learning, access to teaching and learning online. for example, practice-based. They understand technical side, system side, and team as well. So these are kind of options you can have. And kind of, what I've done is put in the kind of recommended way forward, if you like. They have skills as well. They've got standards. They've got, I'll just move this over a little bit. They've got recognized qualifications as well. You need a recognized awarding body. You need to know that if somebody has got a qualification, they haven't just nicked it off the internet or taken it from somewhere. It has an awarding body who say that you are who you are. You are a qualified accountant. Who you qualified with? You have a PhD. Where's it with? Who's awarded it? So you have to have that validity and that trail as well. And you need standards and qualifications to know that people have attained levels. And that could be exam based. I mean, project management has practical exams. You can become a Prince 2. It's a particular project management method. A practitioner by taking the exams. So if you're certified Prince 2 practitioner, you'll be authorized by a body to say that you've taken the exams and you have a level of competence in actually running that project management method. So what happens with society, you take people with those skills and they make a useful contribution. So those skills make a contribution to society. There is payment or reward. Could be, you know, if you work for charity, that's a different kind of reward. But anyway, there is validation. The society actually validates those skills in some way, okay? And hopefully that loops back to the providing learning resources and funding. Okay, so our model is to try to move us on. That's try to give us an overview. So you've got the person, different qualities, team working, practice-based, actually an intelligence quotient. You've got intellect to do something. You've got the soft skills. You've got some kind of mechanism for teaching and learning, for example, online. You come out with a level of skill and a qualification to recognize it, and society recognizes it and rewards you in some way. Okay, so that's my overview. And we've got, you know, we've got quite a number of online qualifications as well. My partner, writing partner, Razan, she runs the Global MBA. You don't have to come to Manchester for that. In fact, one thing about our courses is you don't have to come to Manchester for anything. This year, everything is online. So, and I know that's quite a popular course. So that's me. Thank you very much. Hope I haven't taken up too much of your time, and thanks for the opportunity for actually speaking on this subject.
For such a valuable presentation. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mihir, please.
So I probably would put it in a nutshell as what Dr. Blair really puts it. He spoke something about leadership, and I'll only say in a simple line, you know, leaders don't do, leaders are very important. They're the one who give directions to us. And it's very important for a leader to really understand what the team requires. And I think once you understand the pulse of the team, and I think once you're really sure about it, they can surely forge ahead, because leaders are not different. They do things differently. It's as simple as that. And leaders require to have a mix of hard skills and soft skills. And I think with these two kind of skill sets, which are mixed together, I think they will surely be able to give optimum results.
I think you're right, and I think that can be taught as well. You can teach leadership skills, you can teach team working skills. I think courses that ignore it, just focus on the technical side, the hard skills. I think I've got a problem with those because they're not preparing you for practice. Sorry.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Can you please transfer the rights to Dr. Sharma, and we'll have our next presenter. May I please invite?
Thank you, Dr. Gary. Yeah.
May I please invite our next presenter, Dr. Laura Das. She's been associated with our organization for quite some time, and she's an associate professor, and she's working at the University of Technology, Malaysia. Again, she has got great amount of knowledge to share. Can I please request you, ma'am, to take over and address the audience?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mihir. And thank you, Dr. Hardev, for this opportunity. I will begin. I will share the screen straight away. Okay. Okay. Is it over to me already?
Yes, Dr. Gary, can you please confirm if it has been, because
Cannot connect to.
Gary, he's still the host. We request Dr. Gary to please transfer the pass to Madam Laura.
sir, simply click on those three blue buttons and you can see there an option, make the host.
उस लिंक पर तो क्लिक करेगी तो या फिर लूडो गेम डाउनलोड होगा तो उसे खोलना ऑनलाइन प्ले फ्रेंड्स पर जाना अपने कोई पासवर्ड वगैरह बनाएंगे तो तुझे आते बताना पासवर्ड वगैरह मेरे को नहीं आता तू कर देना काट मत ऐसे कर देना.
Yeah, should have gone back to you. I stopped being the host, so I didn't actually give it anyone. So it should go back to whoever was the original host. Yeah.
No, sir. Still, it is showing you are the host. Can you please click on Dr. Laura Das ma'am's name, and there you can see an option.
I've got it. It's okay. Yeah, got it. Okay. No worries. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My
Dr.
mistake.
Laura, you're the host now, so probably you can take over.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gary, Dr. Hardik, and Dr. Mir. I will begin my presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. No, not yet. Screen is not visible yet.
Let me know when you can see my screen, please.
No, we are not able to see your screen as yet. Can you click on share screen? Can you click on the icon as share? Share it.
Yeah, share screen. Share. Yes.
Yes. We can now. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to see the screen.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, right. The topic that I'll be talking about is the skill building in the VUCA world. I'm an English lecturer, so my topic will also be geared towards communication. I'll give a communication angle to my talk. Okay, this is the VUCA definition, just in case some of you have not heard about it. All right, this definition VUCA was introduced by the US Army War College from the end of the Cold War. And more frequent use and discussion of the term VUCA began from 2002, and this term began to be used in businesses and in education in general. It often relates to how people view the conditions under which they make decisions, plan forward, manage risks, foster change, and solve problems. Okay, in general, the premises of VUCA tend to shape the way an organization does business. In other words, VUCA is the scenario against which businesses have to operate. It is like a warlike situation where things are volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Yeah? And against this backdrop, businesses have to operate, have to thread. if they are to survive. So a futurist called Jen Leonhard puts forward two important steps in threading in a VUCA environment. He says, flip it, flip the VUCA. Vision encounters volatility. He says, give employees a clear focus. This will give them the opportunity to react quickly to change if they know they have a clear focus of where the organization, what the organization is doing, where the organization is heading, or is it heading in the right direction? All right, that will enable them to react quickly if they know, if they have a vision. Understanding encounters uncertainty. Employees need to know who their competitors are, what's new in the industry, and they will be able to take advantage of new opportunities. They have to be educated on this. The organization, the organization has to ensure that the employees understand the business they're in. Clarity counters complexity. It has to be communicated clearly to the employees. Teamwork and collaboration needs to be promoted. They need to be given clear direction, and they need to be encouraged to solve problems together rather than individually. Agility counters ambiguity. Employees need to learn to adapt during uncertain times. They need to be encouraged. Employees need to be encouraged to learn new skills, and creativity needs to be encouraged in organizations. These are the 4 steps Leonhard says that could flip the VUCA world, the situation that is faced by organizations. Now, the World Bank in its 2019 report specifies specific skills to meet the requirements of future jobs. This is the kind of workforce needed by organization in order to thread the VUCA world. It says advanced cognitive skills. Employees have to be, they have to be problem solvers, they have to be critical thinkers, they need to be able to adapt. They need advanced communication skills. They need good social behavioral skills, how to interact with each other, how to negotiate contract, how to close business deals, how to be a good team player. They need emotional intelligence. They need soft skills, and they need digital learning. They have to be digital savvy. Is there somebody seeking admission? Dr. Mir, is there someone seeking admission?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me?
Continue.
Is there someone seeking admission?
No, you can speak. Probably somebody must have kept their mic. So those must be among the participants. So you can continue.
Okay, I will go on. Okay. The World Bank urges governments to act in this manner. 1, to invest in human capital. The World Bank suggests this is very important, especially in early childhood development. Higher order cognitive and social behavioral skills in addition to foundational skills. A basic level of human capital, such as basic skills, like being able to read and write and being able to count, is needed for an economy to survive. The growing role of technology in life and business means all types of jobs, including those that required low skills, require advanced cognitive skills. So a workforce that is that has got high cognitive skills, has to be developed. There are 2 people. All right. Okay. The role of human capital is also enhanced by the rising demand for social behavioral skills. We have jobs that rely on interpersonal interaction more now, acquired in one's early years and shaped throughout one's lifetime. It is actually this interpersonal skills, yeah, that are acquired early in one's life and shaped throughout the lifetime. This becomes important now, yeah, in the organization. Yeah, it becomes an important skill for the workforce to have. Yeah, it is talking about simply the ability to talk to one another. To prepare for changing nature of work, countries must boost investment in early childhood development. The most effective way is to build valuable skills. This is the most effective way to build valuable skills for future labor market. Yeah, the labor force has to be groomed from early childhood. This is the observation of the World Bank in 2019. Technology changes, demand for skills. When technology changes, new skills are in demand. Since 2001, share of employment in occupations in non-routine cognitive social behavioral skills has increased. That means there is a 19 to 23% of increase in emerging economies for the need for non-routine cognitive social behavioral skills. And this skill is even more in demand in advanced economies. Yeah, from 33 to 41% increase. There is a need for non-routine jobs, yeah, that involves social behavioral and cognitive skills. Investments in early childhood not only includes early childhood learning, it also includes nutrition, health, protection, and education. All these lay strong foundations to the future acquisition of higher order and social behavioral skills. It is important for people to make sure that their children are healthy. Yeah? A healthy nation will make a healthy workforce. Okay, prenatal period to the age of 5. The brain's ability to learn from experience is at its highest. Let me admit this person. There is somebody. The brain's ability to learn from experience is at its highest. So individuals or parents who ensure the children acquire skills in early childhood are more resilient to uncertainty later in life. They'll be able to deal with uncertainties later in life if they are given the skill early in life. Tertiary education is another opportunity for individuals to acquire higher order general cognitive skills, such as complex problem solving, critical thinking, and advanced. For those who are not able to go back to school or to university, they are already in the workforce, but they do not have a university qualification. They are not skilled. Reskilling and upskilling must be part of the response to technology-induced labor market to reduce labor market disruption. Organizations must ensure their existing staff are reskilled and upskilled on a continuous basis. There is another person seeking admission. Let me admit this person. All right. Maninder Kaur, who is a special officer at NBB Delhi, wrote in January 2020. To stay ahead of competition, organizations need innovative and advanced technology to lower the cost and to increase quality and efficiency. But organizations fail to realize that the very driving force behind every successful organization is its human capital. Human capital has to be developed first. Its greatest assets, its intellectual capital. It is just like having a skilled driver to operate the car. Yeah, we will come to that situation if the human capital is not enhanced. She puts forward a future scenario. Many jobs of the future require a combination of technological innovation and advanced cognitive skills. Jobs that rely on interpersonal interaction will not be easily replaced by machines. Machines will not be able to replace all the jobs that human beings can do, especially those that involve interpersonal interaction, those that require high-level cognitive skills. Therefore, she suggests that corporate training is utmost important. It is important to design training modules to meet skill sets, to upgrade and invest in their skill sets to stay relevant in business. Try to reskill, upskill, and require higher order cognitive skills important to meeting the changes of the present world, to continue to attract people of very high caliber, to maintain competitive advantage. Training will be the next venue for employees to gain knowledge and innovative skills after school and university. This is very important in organizations, and she urges organizations to invest in training and upskilling. But unfortunately, she notes that such opportunities are relatively low. Organizations prefer to spend on latest technology, thus they overlook the unique asset they have in the form of human capital. They rather spend money on technology than on reskilling their workers. Okay, there is another person seeking admission. A CEO, Amit Agarwal of Nescom ITES, estimated that on average, India's average population will be below the age of 29 in 2020. This is a great advantage for the nation. But India is going to struggle to find skilled workers for the 230,000 jobs in the big data and artificial intelligence domain in the future. There are jobs, but there are no takers skilled enough to handle the jobs. By 2021, this shortage is likely to increase to 780,000 vacant job posts. So she concludes by saying companies that engage early in reskilling programs will be better able to tackle this skill shortage in the Indian market. What are the factors that cause a skill shortage in the Indian job market? My focus will be on English language communication skill. Just like in all, many schools, particularly in Asia, in Africa, in non-European, non-American nations, there is a huge disparity between classroom knowledge and practical application. This is also true in Malaysia. There is a lot of rote learning taking place where students are unable to apply the knowledge learned in classrooms in real-life situations. They are unable to analyze problems, synthesize problems, and come up with solutions. Ironically, these are precisely the skills required in the corporate world. We are still, a lot of us in Asian countries, in our schools and universities, we still are unable to move away from the old school of teaching. Number two, education institutions do not meet the challenges of a global world. The workforce needs to be equipped with skills of international standards. Only then they will have the mobility, the job mobility, the geographical mobility. They can work anywhere they want if they have the skills. A shortage of relevant skills. Fresh graduates do not have on-the-job skills. They are not readily employable. As soon as they graduate, they're not ready for the job market. Even professionals with experience, they're unable to keep themselves updated of the latest technology and business trends, especially in the IT industry, where technology change at its fastest. Lower female participation. Insufficient residential provision for female trainees at training centers. Insufficient social support for working women, and lack of coaching and mentoring in skills programs. There simply aren't enough female workers to fill the job market. Okay, another person seeking admission. Welcome. How to overcome skills shortage? One is by raising the national standards of education. Two, offering accreditation to more educational institutions for national and international recognition. More recognition should be given. In Malaysia, for example, we had a situation where we had very few universities, say about 20 years ago. And the Malaysian government, realizing that there is a need for skilled workers, quickly resorted to giving accreditation to a lot of institutions that were institutes that were colleges to university level. And there is a lot of collaboration now with international universities. There is a lot of mobility, student and lecturers mobility across universities in different parts of the world. So this helps to offer accreditation to our own existing educational institutions. Collaboration with developed nations. Malaysia is doing a lot of this. I'm sure India is also working on this. Yeah, there needs to be a continuous effort to collaborate with developed nations to raise skill standards and online courses. Online courses is the way to go now. Offer industry specific online courses for reskilling existing workforce. Promote the adoption of new technologies like blockchain technology. Yeah, India is good in this. Yeah, the certificate, Certif ID, it is basically a platform that links educational institutions, students, professionals, and employees on a global level. So job seekers or the workforce, can seek for employment anywhere in the world as long as they require, they fulfill the skill set required. Being an English teacher, my concern is in developing soft skills among students. In Malaysia, the university that I teach in, University Technology Mara, is the only university in the country that has its medium of instruction in the English language, and that is the status enjoyed by this particular university. Despite that, I find that language acquisition among students in my university is still lacking. Okay, and so that brings me here. Yeah, developing soft skills among students has to be done not only at tertiary level, it has to start at primary level. By the time they come to tertiary level, if they don't have the basics in communication, we can't do much. We can only help them so much. Yeah? We need not argue about it. Yeah? Nobody will argue with me when I say that English language is here to stay. It is the language of survival in today's world. It has replaced Latin and Greek, which were the languages of status and scholarship in ancient Europe. Yeah, this English language has taken over and English is here to stay. So young people all over the world, whether they like it or not, they have to master this language if they are to thread in the VUCA world. Research has shown over the decades the importance of English language communication skills in enhancing employability. Nobody will argue with me, on this. Recruiters have pointed out many times that among the skill sets required of a potential employee is the ability to communicate in the English language. Job seekers who lack the skill are less likely to be shortlisted for recruitment. In Malaysia, organizations have time and time again pointed out to the universities that this is the issue with fresh graduates. Yeah. Okay. Given this scenario of the very important need of the English language for one's own survival, young people all over the world struggle to master this language. In order for those who succeed, the reward is greater employability, greater job mobility. Part of my screen is blocked. I don't know why. Can I remove this? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's better now. All right. So for those who succeed, the reward is greater employability, greater job mobility, and greater global opportunities for employment in multinational organizations. This brings to the problem. This is the major problem faced by countries where English is a second or foreign language. The problem is only a small percentage of school leavers or graduates have acquired the skill at the exit point of it. Statistics indicate that less than 5% of engineering graduates in India speak English. This is despite the fact that most universities teach engineering courses in the English language. Why is there such a problem? And who can help? Schools and higher learning institutions do have a major role to play in overcoming this problem in countries where English is a second or foreign language. Overcoming the disparity between classroom knowledge and practical application becomes necessary. Many countries around the world, in particular in Asia, have not fully broken away from the traditional teacher-centered education system. That brings me to the education systems in schools today. Yeah, although they are trying, they know that the school system that they have that is in place is no longer able to reach the goals desired. Yeah, they need to move away. But the how do I put it? Moving away from it takes time. Yeah, moving away from the traditional to a more dynamic education system takes time. Traditional education system with focus on rote learning creates learners who merely memorize facts to regurgitate in exams. This creates learners who are excellent at memorizing. Yeah, they can score very high marks. But when it comes to higher order thinking skills, like analyzing problematic situations, synthesizing them, coming up with solutions to overcome them, yeah, they fail miserably. These are precisely the skills needed in life. One more person seeking admission, welcome. Therefore, there is a need for a paradigm shift in learning to a more constructivist model. This is based on a research that I've done, and it's based on Harvard University's Project Zero study that began more than 50 years ago. And this study is called Project Zero, and it's looking at the way learners learn. And it's heavily based on this constructivist, Vygotsky's constructivist theory. The move from teacher-centered to student-centered pedagogical approaches is a trend in evidence in many countries. Yeah, this is a trend. Many advanced nations have freed themselves from the old school of teaching, but many of us are still in the process. This constructivist model very much informs this shift. In the curriculum and pedagogical traditions in many countries, including Malaysia, a teacher transmits information to students who passively listens and acquire facts. Yeah, in today's world, students cannot be passive learners. They got to be active learners. And that's where the change in the curriculum is required. Whereas in a transactional curriculum, students are actually constructivist approach requires learners with the opportunity to interact with the data and to construct their own world. In other words, the constructivist model is built on the premise that knowledge that is self-constructed is more meaningful to the learner than a knowledge that is passed on to them by the teacher. Yeah, they got to construct their own knowledge. Okay, this is okay. This is how a traditional classroom versus a constructivist classroom looks like. If we observe the traditional classroom, the sitting arrangement is in rows facing the teacher. Yeah, this is. And the constructivist classroom, you can see that the students are all gathered, and you can see that there is active learning going on. There are so many students raising their hands, wanting to ask questions, wanting to answer questions. You can see there is active involvement of students in the learning. And this is another constructivist model classroom, where the teacher sits around with the students and engages them in learning. Not only do they learn from each other, not only do they learn from the teacher modeling an activity to them, they also learn from each other. A shift in learning approach provides learners opportunity to interact, to learn from each other. At the same time, they are learning language and communication skills. Yeah? Communication skills are at the very core of learning. They need to learn to communicate before they learn anything else. Vygotsky, 1978, proposed that in social interaction between an adult and child, scaffolding takes place. That means the child is learning, yeah, with the guidance provided by the adult. Storch adds that scaffolding also occurs when learners interact with each other, either in pairs or in groups, in a collaborative effort to resolve language-related problems. And these are the other researchers, yeah, who have talked about collaborative learning. Excuse me. My research in classroom interaction involved three groups of university students. I found that students in all three groups preferred an interactive classroom approach where they were given the opportunity to interact in small groups. They found it interesting. They were happy to discuss classwork with peers, the boredom of doing classwork individually. They liked the opportunity to ask teacher questions on a group level rather than a class level. You know, we know, especially our Asian students, they are very shy in the class. Yeah, they do not like to display their lack of understanding. So they prefer to ask teacher questions at a small group level or individual level even, rather than at class level. I also found that teachers varied in their ability to shift from teacher-centered to student-centered approach, although they knew that students liked and benefited from this approach. Teacher training needs to undergo a revamp to enable teachers to handle a different method of teaching. This has to start at teacher training level. Yeah, they have to be trained to handle the new approach. The physical setup of the classroom was not conducive for an interactive lesson. It did not support interaction in the classroom. As I showed earlier, seating arrangement was in rows facing the front of the classroom. Students had to turn around, move furniture around to face each other during discussion and shift back once the discussion was over. So the physical setup of the classroom did not support an interactive learning environment. And there wasn't much physical space between the groups of students for the teacher to walk around, to listen to students' discussion, and to answer questions. Space was a constraint. The physical layout of the classroom needs to be changed to support this new learning approach. This is the kind of learning environment, the physical layout that will support interactive learning. The conclusion, there is a need for educational institutions to move away from a traditional classroom to a more dynamic one, where learners are involved in the learning process, where they are able to discuss, ask questions, present their work orally at group or class level, involve communication in order for them to acquire language. They acquire language not just by listening to the teacher, but by using the language with the teacher and with each other. They also need to be given an opportunity to interact with peers, with teachers and peers. Yeah, this is a dynamic learning environment where they need this opportunity to learn from teachers and peers. An environment where collaborative learning, where they are taught that collaborative learning has far greater benefits than individual learning. They need to be taught that when they learn collaboratively, they are able to achieve better results. They're able to solve more problems rather than trying to achieve it individually. Team effort rather than individual achievement needs to be promoted. This is in an effort to create a new breed of workforce that views skill and knowledge sharing not as a threat to individual progress, but rather as necessary for personal and community growth. With that, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having such a wonderful session. Well, indeed, you really covered one of the most important topics today, that's regarding to the VUCA world. And I'm really sure in case we utilize this pedagogy of learning, I'm sure we will be able to make a few changes in the system and in the entire ecosystem of education. Thank you so much, ma'am. Can you please hand over the powers to Dr. Sharma again?
Yes, I will. Dr.
Here,
Sharma.
please make me here. Please make me here as the host, because he will be presenting now.
Oh, Mihir. Okay, Dr. Mihir.
Yeah, yeah.
Done, Dr. Mihir? Over to you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, Dr. Mihir.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Speaking after so many great personalities, there's a great amount of pressure that works on to me probably to deliver the best, but with the promise that I'll keep it really short, sweet, simple, and I'll make it as interesting as possible. Very sure for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Mihir Kalambi. I have completed my PhD from the University of Mumbai, and I've been associated with the Society of Academic Research ever since 2012. So it has been a wonderful opportunity for me to be over here. Now, the most important question that arises, skill development in the VUCA world. Let's give you a simple example. 31st December, 11:59 a.m. 1st January, 1st January, to wish everybody Happy New Year. That's what you all do. And I'm wishing each one of you all right now, wishing each one of you a Happy New Year. Some amount of question runs into your mind. What is he talking? Is he speaking sense? Now, the only reason why I ask such questions is because if anybody's sleeping, probably you all can get really awake and know that I'm not speaking nonsense. I'm going to make some sense right now. 1st of January, when